The first class I really want to talk about is your adding value to sponsorships, because I think it's a
Mhm.
really cool conversation. I've been an advocate for a long time. I look at a lot of the sponsorships that are available through
Mhm.
our clients and through even
Yep.
our own. And I feel like it's a lot of the same stuff. And then I
Yeah.
also feel like unfortunately, I think there's a lot of meaningless kind of junk in there
Mhm.
that they
Yeah.
try to get you to pay for. So I've
Mhm.
talked a lot about how I think sponsorship need to evolve and change to fit kind of, today's demand. So you mentioned kind of a three-step method for evaluating sponsorships.
Mhm.
I think it's one thing for the associations and shows to offer the sponsorships.
Mhm.
I think it's then on exhibitors and people who are paying to sponsor to understand how to evaluate and fold it into their overall strategy. So give us a little bit about your three-step method.
So, one of the things that you have to remember when you're talking sponsorships is that the way that I have talked to those exhibit companies, you're going to a ABC con and the planners have sponsorships and they have the basic sponsorship package. Every time you're in Atlanta, they always have these packages. You can do this, that, and that. And they just kind of repeat it because it's easy for them to take what other people have done in the Atlanta, Georgia World Center and repeat it. So they just put it on repeat. But the three steps that I always encourage people to start with is what your goal is, what your budget is, and what your message is. You do that with everything. That's the way you're planning your booth, basically, too. So you need to decide what your goal is. And when you look at the goal, you need to also look at the audience. Because if you're trying to speak to everybody, then maybe some of those big giant banners at the Georgia World Center make sense for you. But it might not make sense if you're only looking for specific customers. If I'm at a lab, my company does analytical equipment. If I'm at a crime con, when it's all the FBI and all of the different forensic people from around the country come and attend this fictional conference. And I only want to talk to the lab scientists that do dirt analysis. My goal is to find 20 dirt analyzing people.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
want to spend a ton of money on the big splashy billboards and such. So my budget for a 10 by 10 booth is not covering that anyway. So I need to figure out what my message is. My audience, I've decided I want it to be, just people that analyze dirt samples. So I start looking for sponsorships that are going to talk to those people. A lot of times that specific option doesn't exist. Oftentimes it ends up being a email blast or a postcard I can send out or something like that. But sometimes you can take what already exists and modify it to work for you to
You
get
know,
your
I
message.
when you said three pieces of goal, budget, and message, right? I
Mhm.
think that's
Yep.
I think the budget is a super obvious one. You can afford what
Right.
you can afford, right? So you
Yeah.
got to look at the menu and know, okay, this is where
Yeah.
I'm at. But I really like the idea of looking at your message,
Mhm.
right? That you're saying that, because I think most times I tell people all the time when they're going to a trade show in general, one of my biggest things is asking them, what do you want your customers to walk away knowing?
Yeah.
And that really should lead back to your message.
Yeah.
That should build into your booth planning and everything. But I love that you're putting that in there with sponsorship, because if you have a message to a certain niche or broad audience, it
Yeah.
does help you dial in. How could I get this message to them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, is there a
Yeah.
creative way to do this through what's being offered? And
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool lens, you're looking through there.
And then I
Um,
can look at what hall is maybe the dirt scientists and the forensic scientists that are using lab equipment, their sessions are all down a hallway.
yeah.
And so I don't want to do any messaging in the B and C hallway area because none of my scientists are going to be down there. I need to focus on where they're going to be.
Yeah. For anyone listening, like, it's being niche, it's being
Mhm.
specific, it's being
Mhm.
smart about, it's kind of like you use it's a bad analogy if it's this, but it's like you're taking you don't really want a shotgun approach. You want like
Right.
a sniper approach, right? Like you got
Yeah.
one bullet, not 500 just to spray around, right? And I hate that that's the analogy. It makes sense whether you're, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
I
like
think that that's how you have to think about it.
if you had a tray of cupcakes, but someone was gluten sensitive, you would make their cupcakes separate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna make cupcakes for everybody because everybody's gonna visit the
Mhm.
booth, but I
Yeah.
know that my audience is gluten sensitive, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna special those
You
cupcakes
yeah.
just for my audience, and then I'm gonna zhuzh it up. I'm gonna make it fancy
Yep.
for them. I'm gonna make sure they know, hey, I'm talking to you, gluten sensitive attendee, because I did these special for you. I got cupcakes for everybody, but I made
Yeah.
something special for you. So I might do a sponsorship that's branded, I might do a enhanced listing. Those are often affordable in my budget range. So I might do that because I want people to know we've never been to the crime people conference. So we want people to know that my company is at the crime conference. So I want to enhance the listing. And then once
Yep.
I have the messaging for my dirt analyzing people, then they can find me easily because I've got the messaging with the branding and I hook it back to the enhanced listing stuff.
Yeah, I like the idea of being more specific and targeted when you're
Mhm.
doing that.